This is our Lancia Appia. We bought this in 2019 and it needed everything, but now it is pretty much done. So we're going to talk about the process of restoration while showing you what the end result looks like.
So when we originally picked up the car, we held on to it as kind of a future project for a couple of years. And in that time, I thought about trying to get the engine up and running and sorting out a bunch of things on it, but I didn't really have the time. And so after a couple of years, I decided to give it to Vintage Underground to have them actually carry out the full restoration of this car. We're not going to do a full episode on this car yet because we just finished the restoration. I have yet to actually get this car titled to have it out on the road, so I haven't really even driven it yet, other than in and out of a trailer, things like that. We've taken it to one show just because it was done and it was convenient to load it and take it, but it'll be going to other events and things along that line, and we will get it titled, and we will at some point do a full episode on the Lancia Appia.
But in the meantime, we want to show you what a completed restoration looks like and talk about what goes into restoring one of these cars from the ground up.
So let's get into it.
So we bought this car from a fellow Lancia enthusiast in the area. He originally bought it to work on with his son. Unfortunately, they never got around to it. This is a very common story in restorations. We got it from him and brought it here. It came with one car that was mostly complete, very good shell, very little rust, and then a parts car that had a lot of stuff but was less complete.
Yes, and very, very rusty.
Very rusty.
When we acquired this, it was a very clean car. The engine had been rebuilt, but that was pretty much all that had been done. It had been rebuilt to the standard of the Appia Sport, the Zagato-bodied version. And so it has an upgraded carburetor, it has a little bit better performance, kind of ideal for if you want to actually tour and drive this car regularly. Beyond that, everything on this car really still needed to be done. When we picked it up, the car was painted blue, and the paint was not in great shape, not usable at all as is, but it had done a good job of protecting the car. The interior was original, but in tatters, and really needed to be redone. There was a lot of work that needed to go into kind of figuring things out. There was chrome that needed to be sorted, a lot of it needed to be replated, some of it needed to be replaced. That's where the parts car came in. We were able to get parts off of it and re-chrome them. There's a lot of things that really come into doing this that you have to try and find and make work. Fortunately, this car had most everything we needed. The rubber is readily available out of Italy. There's a company that reproduces all of the odd rubber pieces that are in this car, as far as seals, as far as floor mats, to the original patterns. It's one of the things that makes these Italian cars wonderfully nice to restore.
However, Lancia can be a little bit special. We really lucked out when it came to the parts car because there are things that Lancia made specifically for their cars. If you're restoring like a Fiat or even a Ferrari, a lot of the time, they all pulled from the same parts bins. Lancia didn't do that except in certain very specific cases. If they felt they could build it better, they did.
So why restore this car? I'd like to say I am very good at buying and very bad at selling cars. It usually isn't economically worth putting the amount of effort that we put into this car to restore it. They don't sell for that much money when they're done, but they're wonderful cars to drive. My goal was to basically turn this back into that original wonderful car to drive that we could enjoy ourselves. Because I'm good at buying and bad at selling, I'm less concerned about what is the sale price afterwards and more, is it to the level that I want it to be? So we kind of went all out on a car that isn't necessarily worth typically going all out on. And we ended up with what I think is an absolutely stunning example of a fairly nice but relatively pedestrian Lancia. But it is such a nice car in general, and there are some features on this car that made it worth doing. There's one thing in particular I love about these cars, which is they are pillarless for the B-pillar, which stylistically just makes it a very kind of cool car. You open up the doors. If I go around to the other side and open up the doors, you can see through the entire car. Getting in and out of the back seat is a breeze for pretty much anyone. It's just such an elegant design. But at the same time, when we look at it and close these doors, they close like a bank vault. It's like closing the doors on a Rolls Royce. They are solid, they close beautifully, they seal surprisingly well considering that there's no pillar to seal against in the center here. It is one of those things where just the build quality, just by the doors, is really exemplified. And it's one of the things that just made Lancia engineered cars brilliant.
Again, Lancia put effort and money and materials into things that other car companies would be going, this is the entry-level car, we can cheap out. Lancia never cheaped out. The original interior was wool and vinyl, and we still put in wool and vinyl. We are trying to take this car back to as it was.
Our choice of exterior color is because this was a color that was used on Lancias in the period. When we got the car, it was blue. But that was a blue paint job over another paint job over another paint job over a gray or gunmetal paint job. I don't know whether the car was originally gray or gunmetal, like this with the metallic, or exactly what color it was originally. So it's very hard for us to tell absolutely what we started with. So a big part of it was picking a color that we liked. This is a favorite combination of mine. I love this color, especially with the red accents. I think it really fits well. It shows off the chrome and the trim on the car beautifully. So that to me was a big part of the reason that we ended up with this color. That, and we have several other Lancias that are shades of blue. So the last thing I wanted to do was paint all of our Lancias blue.
One of the things that we try to do when we are restoring a car is take it back to era appropriate. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be completely original, though if we do have the records, we sometimes like to do that. But it's, at the end of the day, it's our car. And so we can decide what we're going to do with it. But we do try to make it look as though it was appropriate for the time that it came off the factory floor.
So one of the challenges we had to overcome restoring this car at Vintage Underground is things that you don't necessarily think about, which is, for example, this rubber seal sits in a very thin metal channel that was originally screwed to the body of the car. That channel had suffered due to rust, more than most of the rest of the car, to be honest. And so we had to replace that channel. We had to kind of work out how to replace and rebuild that channel, which was a very involved process to get in. And it's what holds this rubber seal in place. So Vintage Underground was able to go through, figure out a solution, source it, make it work, make it fit, and then get everything put back in the car. So they did the full upholstery in this, they did the full paint and body work on this car. They rebuilt the front suspension, which is a sliding pillar front suspension that Lancia had been using for decades. This is one of the last cars to feature that suspension. It's one of the things that Vintage Underground has gone out of their way to learn and figure out how to do, because no one else really does it. And this is not the only Appia that has ever been in that shop. This is one of at least 4 that I know of that have been worked on by Vintage Underground, only 2 of which are mine. One of the other challenges you run into with doing things like the suspension on this car is because Lancia was a company of engineers, they had a tendency to engineer their own tools as well. It's one of the things that makes these cars somewhat difficult to work on, is that you have to frequently make tools to do some of the work, rebuilding some of the things. So having a machinist on staff really, really helped, because there's a lot of things like special spanners and wrenches that you need to take the suspension apart and to rebuild it and things like that, that aren't necessarily an off-the-shelf item you can go and buy. It's nice the fact that we can actually produce what we need in order to be able to access and work on these cars. It's one of the reasons that I'm happy to have handed this off to someone who could do the job, that I didn't necessarily have the easy capability of doing myself. The engine bay on this car has the cutest little V4 engine, which, if you look at it, you'll see that there are things that are not necessarily right. First off, you probably wouldn't have had a Lucas supercoil. That happened to be the one that I basically was playing with when I was originally trying to figure out getting this thing running on its own. I had it on the shelf. I put it in. It works. You'll also notice the air filter is completely wrong. That's a homemade thing, but because we upgraded the carburetor on this, putting in the sport setup, we didn't have the right air filter assembly for it. So this at least gives you a functional air filter. Our goal with this car is to go out and drive it. Again, these are not incredibly valuable cars. We can potentially source parts that would be better, more original, more correct, but at the same time, right now, the main goal was to get this up and running.
This is not to take to Pebble Beach. This is to take out, enjoy, and share with other people.
While we're up here, another challenge we ran into is the Lancia badge on the grille. The original was plastic with the emblem behind. The plastic was cracked and corroded. It just wasn't really that presentable. I found someone online who had produced an enamel version of essentially the same badge in the same size, which was a beautiful fit and definitely fits the car. Not technically correct, but looks better, functions nicely. Very, very happy that I found that. So
It'll last longer too.
to whoever came out with it and designed it and made it happen, thank you.
Right, I think that's it. Thanks for sticking with us. We are about to start season number 5.
And we've already got the first episode filmed and in process of being edited. You may have noticed that we haven't released any full car reviews for a couple episodes. It's been a busy summer so far. That said, we are already generating new content. The first episode is going to be our 1962 Jaguar E-Type convertible. So a car I've been wanting to put on this channel for ages, and it is going to be spectacular. If you like seeing the restorations as they get done, and ideally as we're doing them as well, we're happy to kind of create that kind of content and give it to you between our full car reviews.
Leave us a comment, tell your friends.
Click the notification bell, be nice to each other, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.